Welcome to the Kincardine Bulldogs Podcast, sponsored by Kincardine Home Hardware. This is where we talk about past and future events for the Kincardine Bulldogs. Now, here's your hosts, Chuck Basti and Stevie Dunn. Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the Kincardine Bulldogs Podcast. This is where we talk everything Kincardine Bulldogs related. My name is Stevie Dom. I'm here alongside my co-host, Chuck Basti. How's it going today, Chuck?
Everything's good today, Stevie. How about you?
I'm doing all right. A little under the weather, but we move forward.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that bug myself, so.
Yeah. It was a very up and down season for the Bulldogs this season as they finished with an exact 500 record. 18, 5-1 for 42 points. That was good for 5th in the North Pollock Division. They're second in goals for with 156, 5th in goals against with 148 for a +8 differential. This would set up the Bulldogs for a first-round matchup versus the Wingham Ironmen. And there was 5 one-goal games in this series. The Bulldogs won Game 1, 3-2 in overtime. However, they lost Game 2, 3, and 4, 3-2 in regulation. And through the first 4 games, those games could have gone either way. It could have been a sweep, could have been a 2-2 series tie, just one bounce one way or bounce the other way could have changed the series completely.
Yeah, you're going to bring up a good point as well. That was I said in that series there to our guys, that series was going to be won in special teams in the small little minutia. That you're either going to get some puck luck or you're going to get some bounces or your goalie's going to steal a game. We had all of that as well go for us and go against us. Yeah. I think Carter Garvey, our goalie, played a lights-out series. We were very, very happy with his play. I think his save percentage was like high of 925. It was certainly he out-battled Golly, but we just didn't get enough shots on Golly, their goalie for the Ironmen, where we were facing 40 shots. I think we were getting 25 shots on Golly, and it's just numbers game at that point there. The extra 10 shots come in, one goal in 10 is what you're looking for, and that's going to cost you a game, and it costs us a series as well. But, give credit where credit is due. The Ironmen played a great series. It was a very, very, tight series, like you said. Every game was a one-goal game. Every game but the overtime game 5 was 3-2. Game 5 ended up being 4-3. But like I said, I'm proud of our guys. We battled hard. It comes down, like I said, to the small things that, great teams push through and win, and we just weren't quite good enough in those games as well to steal a couple more wins. And it would have been nice to get, a few more games out of that. Push it to games 6 and 7. But again, we're out in 5. So same thing as last year as well. Same team down the road. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and as mentioned before, game 5 in a do or die game, the Bulldogs end up unfortunately losing 4-3 in overtime, with ending their season with a 1-4 record in the playoffs with 12 goals for and 15 against. Realistically, as mentioned before, this series could have gone either way. Bulldogs get a bounce or two in any of the games that were 3-2. Who knows what could have happened? Strong goaltending from the Bulldogs, just it could have gone any way. As mentioned before, there were a couple ups, couple of downs this season for the Bulldogs. What did you see that contributed to their ups and some of their downs?
Yeah, you know what? There's I can't believe it's March right now. We're having this conversation because to me, I still think it's September when we first started. Obviously, this season was our comeback season after COVID. So, we had our OAs this year that had 2 years interrupted by COVID. Last year, partially, obviously. The year before that, I lost that completely. But, I really got to give credit where credit is due again to our coaching staff. Todd Norman, Russ Sutton, Blair Pollock, they do a great job with our guys. There isn't one bad kid in that room, and everybody gets along with everybody. I've never been on a team in 50 years that has been as well, well-oiled as that Kincardine Bulldogs dressing room is. And, from the start of the year, our sponsors have been great. Our team has been great in the community. I really don't have anything to gripe about other than it would have been nice to win a series. But we have Todd Norman coming in behind us as well. But like we'll ask him as well, so I'll defer that question to him. But
Yeah.
From the executive standpoint, like I said, nobody likes to lose. It's a matter of like, do you think next year we can be better, and how we're going to put the building blocks with our core athletes now? And we'll bring Todd and we'll ask him that and see what he has to say.
Right. And yeah, I'm pretty excited for that interview. Um, there were a few highlight performers this season for the Bulldogs. Um, I'll just kind of go over their top five in points getters, and you can just give a short spiel on what you saw from them this season and uh,
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So obviously, first in Bulldogs points, number 88, forward Harrison Mulestein. He had 28 goals, 27 assists, 55 points, which was good enough to get him Rookie of the Year in the Pollock division. What did you see from him that helped him through this season?
Like Muley played for us last year as an AP, and he scored a goal in his first game as well, and then he grew 6 inches.
Yeah.
And so, Muley coming into the Pollock division this year was just we had high hopes for him. But I mean, it's fair to say that he exceeded everything that we thought he was going to be as far as our leading scorer. We would have been happy if he would have been in our top six, and it turned out to be, on the power play as well on the point. And then he was like our leading goal scorer. Him and Carter Survey really did really well filling the net for us. Like you said, we were number 2 in the Pollock division for goals for. I feel a little badly that Muley didn't get his 30th goal, and we sat him up for one game as a precaution for his health, and that was against Godrich. And there's no doubt in my mind he could have probably did himself to get a 30-goal plateau, but. I mean, if you go down the list, we're going to lose Stevie Grant, our captain, next year. He's an OA.
Yeah, he was number 2.
Yeah, and he
number
was
2.
great. It's just being a great mentor in the dressing room for Muley. He took him under his wing, and even after games, they'd sleep over and have parties and just do the junior experience as well with each other as teammates, which goes a long way when you're traveling and you're still in high school. That you feel included in the team, and our guys were great at doing that. And Carter Survey, obviously, top 3 was just great for energy. He's an edgy player. He draws a lot of penalties. He's got truculence. He's got scoring touch. He's a great kid. He's always smiling. One of the better stories of this year to me was Liam Calhoun, who had a kind of a tougher year last year, but really came out this year and took that year last year, really learned from it. And I swear he must have hit 50 posts this year. Half of those were crossbars, and I mean the Bardowski kind of crossbars as well.
Yeah.
So it was so good to see him break out. And of course, Jordan Beisel was just our crasher and banger. He gives 150% every single shift out there. He's a great teammate, alternate captain as well. A great energy in the dressing room, and we just we're so proud of those guys.
Yeah. And the top D man for the Bulldogs this year was Kieran Moore. What did you see from him? He had 11 goals, 31 assists for 42 points. Not as much goals as the rest of the players in the top 5, but he seemed to really dish that puck this season.
And here's another thing about everyone doesn't realize: as a coaching staff, you have to make certain decisions of where players have to go into roles based on the good of the team. Kieran could have been on the top line, top 6 for sure. On our team for forwards, he's actually a forward, and we were light on the blue line at the very beginning of the year before Joseph Pringle came back. And so Todd Norman and the coaching staff, asked him to go back on the blue line, and he took it, all in stride. He never complained. He just went out there and gave 110%. He still scored a hell of a lot from the blue line. He had a lot of snipes. Again, just really rock steady, good edge work on the kid, good attitude. And he just, he gave us 150% as well in a role that he wasn't, designed to play. He's a forward and played defense. So, and again, Ryan Litt, he's another one of our OAs that we're going to miss as well. Another great alternate captain as well for us, and just did yeoman work for us. He's a great kid. We had him last year as well, and we're going to miss those guys as well. And rounding out our OAs, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up um, Jake Ertl as well. We picked him up at the deadline. And Brendan Long is our other OA
Yep.
from our defensive core. And he's a big guy to miss as well. So we got some big holes to fill next year.
Yeah. Um, I also have a list of a couple of rookies that kind of made their mark this season for the Bulldogs. It really was good to see a couple young guys start to make their mark here at the junior C level. Obviously, Harrison Mulestein, who won Rookie of the Year, uh, Caleb Bowler, Cooper Schneider, Kyle Dolmang, and Larrett Tremblay. What did you see from those guys that helped them make their mark on this junior C level?
Yeah, and again, those are like younger kids that we brought in as well. Caleb Bowler is going to be a great two-way forward for us as well. He's got a lot of energy. He reminds me of like a good power forward, like a Cam Neely. Obviously, his rookie year, he's going to come out next year. He's going to grow. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get a lot more ice time as well. So you're going to see a lot of those guys really jump out into the roles that they're going to come in to fill. Obviously, junior hockey, it's all about development. So putting them forward as we start, missing pieces that need to be filled. These guys have the opportunity to step up, work hard in the off season, get into the gym, watch their nutrition, and be able to do the work that they can possibly do off the ice. So that way, come training camp, they're vying for those positions as well. But yeah, like I said, we had all those, young kids coming in that we had that were for even our local guys as
Yeah.
well. We got Shippy as well. I already mentioned Liam Calhoun, but we had 4 or 5 of our guys from Kincardine as hometown kids, which rarely happens, that you have that many kids from your hometown. So overall, I think, we got a good core. We're probably in better shape now just to make some shifts for OAs next year. And our GM Warren Beisel will be able to, he's really good at understanding the market, knowing where that talent is, and being able to make those conversations and be able to draw some talent for us as well. So I have no doubt that we'll fill those holes.
Yeah. And this season, you had two goalies who really split the net. Obviously, Carter Garvey, who ended up getting hurt, so he wasn't able to play as much as we would hope. But he had 23 games played, an 8-8-3-1 record, a 3.48 goals against, and an 879 save percentage. And Christian De Jong, who had 22 games played, a 10-10-2 record, a 329 goals against average, and an 892 save percentage. Each goalie ended up actually getting an assist each
Yeah.
this season, which is kind of cool. What did you see from those two this season that helped them be
Yeah, I
successful
mean,
in the
like
junior
we
C
had,
moving
and
forward?
I think those numbers are actually really subjective as well because they don't really tell the story as much as like we weren't a very good hockey team to be honest in the month of November. We had a real tail slide there, and it was tough on our goalies. Christian De Jong, we expected that he maybe would have gotten 10 or 15 starts, so he superseded our expectations altogether. Like you mentioned, Garvey got hurt at the end of the year there, and but he had a really strong finish to the end of the year. I think he was like 6-1 and whatever he was at the very end of the season. He finished really strong, and DJ got us over the edge for the last few games of the season. And it was like a real conversation on who's going to start in the playoffs because Carter was just coming off that injury and DJ was playing really well. And obviously we went with the experience. Todd Norman made the call to go with Carter Garvey, and Garvey played lights out. Like there's nothing that we could say about how Carter Garvey played that would have changed that decision as well in retrospect. And we're quite happy with that as well. So like every team, you're going to go up and down on a roller coaster in the year, and it's like does your goaltending rise to that? But we weren't doing a great job of protecting our goalies in the middle part of the season. But then we had a really good December, and then went on a run as well. And like I said, we were playing some really good hockey at the end.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're only allowed to play one overage season here in the junior C level, and the Bulldogs had four guys playing their overage year, as mentioned before. Number 10, Jake Ertl, number 15, Ryan Litt, number 18, Brendan Long, and of course the captain, Stevie Grant. What did Grant mean to this team? Obviously, being the captain and being in his overage year, what did he mean to this team?
Yeah, Stevie came to us, during COVID as well. He was a package deal from Listowel with Bryce McFadden, and he played really well with Bryce McFadden last year, and Bryce was an OA for us. And Steve kind of came in; they were roommates together, so they kind of rode out the COVID storm as well. But I mean, he got a job in town. He wanted to be here. He showed up to practice. He, worked with the guys. He's always just a good kid. Great attitude, good strong work ethic. He really wanted to go out with guns a-blazing as well. He, like you said, he was the captain this year, and he did a great job of really working with the guys as more of a mentor, off the ice, working with the guys, and they all respected Stevie as well, just because he's just a good kid. He's a good person. And he also has really good skills on the ice as well. He scored a lot of shorthanded goals for us this year. And a lot of leadership as well off the ice. We're really going to miss Steve.
Yeah. And it's also credit to the coaching staff too for picking the right person to be in that leadership role. And mentioning the coaching staff, that'll lead us into our guest interview for today. Our guest for today's show is Kincardine Bulldogs head coach Todd Norman. Todd played one season for the Stratford Warriors, then known as the Colletons, then played 4 seasons in the OHL for the Guelph Storm. Todd was also part of the 1995 U18 World Junior Championship gold medal winning team. He was then drafted by the Vancouver Canucks 120th overall in the fifth round of the 1995 NHL draft. Although he never played a game in the NHL, Todd played 7 years of professional hockey, splitting time between the AHL, ECHL, WPHL, CHL in Europe, AUS, and in France. After his professional career, he transitioned into coaching and has been a part of the head coach of the Kincardine Bulldogs for 3 seasons. He has won Pollock Division Coach of the Year as a member of the Bulldogs coaching staff back in 2019-20. Norman and the Bulldogs are looking for a comeback season for the 2023-24 campaign. Hopefully I got all that right. Welcome to the show, Todd Norman.
So you guys really dug back there. All the way back
That's what a great producer does.
Yeah, wow. That's a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm honored just to be part of this conversation, but I'll head off screen and leave you two to it.
Well, Todd, thanks a lot for jumping on the show today as well. Obviously, I wish we saw you under better circumstances as well, obviously, at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But just wanted to start, obviously, just get your thoughts basically on the season.
I guess to be completely honest, it was a disappointing season. We never really seemed to get that consistent flow throughout the year where, we could get on a bit of a winning streak, maybe get some confidence within the group. We always kind of seem to, maybe take a step forward and then a step back. So that was hard, I guess. There's just a lot of good teams in our division. To be completely, I don't know the other divisions, but when I thought that obviously Mount Forest had improved this year. We knew that we knew what Wingham was going to be like, and Hanover, Mitchell always put together a good squad. And I would say, to be honest, Goderich and Walkerton, this was the best that I've seen them since I've been a coach at Junior C. So, the league's just getting harder, and it's getting more and more competitive, and we just didn't ever really catch, I guess, our rhythm throughout the entire season, which was, for me, if I'm going to sum it up, it was a little disappointing because I was hoping for more.
And what do you think was really it's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback and look back after the season's over and kind of make some second guesses here or there. Obviously, the Bulldogs at the end of the season were landlocked in fifth place. It could move up or down. So that gave the Bulldogs a little bit more space to kind of get healthy in the last few games before the playoffs going into the Wingham series. And we didn't find out until the last game of the season that we would be playing Wingham or Mitchell or Hanover, because on that last day, all three of those positions, like you said, as tight as that division was, they all flipped that day. So although we thought we might play Wingham, it came down to the final day. But what do you think were kind of the takeaways that we just didn't get over that bubble as well? in the series with Wingham or during the regular season?
Yeah, it was an extremely tight series, and really, I thought every game could have went either way, except for I didn't like our effort. I think it was in Game 3. I kind of thought Wingham
Yeah.
was definitely the better team, and I thought the score of 3-2 might have been a little bit flattering for us on that one. But Wingham is they're a big, strong, physical team, and that's how they play. And we were more of a skating team. We never really, for my, if I'm looking back on it, there's a couple of things. One, I don't think we ever really got into that, rolling four lines and skating and making them skate, which I thought was to our advantage. They played a really physical game, and they knew who they wanted to be physical on, and they did a really good job doing that and identifying that. I don't think that, once again, I'll be completely honest here, I don't think that we had enough guys to match their physicality, willing to kind of stand up to that. And I think, in the long run, over the course of a series, it sometimes takes its role, or it takes its toll, I should say. In saying all that, you have to play to your strengths. And our strength, I thought, was four lines and the skating game. And for me, I just didn't think we saw it at its best in that series.
Yeah.
At least consistently throughout there were spurts definitely where I really liked our game. But then there was just times where, I kind of thought we got away from it, and that's kind of when it hurt us. And, you got to give Wingham credit. Like I said, like they play their system really well. They've got some players that play some really big minutes and are really, really good junior C hockey players, and it showed.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about the four lines. Wingham, obviously, I think on paper, it'd be safe to say they're not as deep as what the Bulldogs were, rolling four lines deep. They do a remarkable job of having someone like Kyle Stanbury play 30 minutes a game, 2-minute shifts out there. He's steady on the puck. He's really shifty. He's not really fast, but, he ends up being clutch for the Wingham Ironmen, and they've got a core 4 or 5 guys that come together that play Johnny big time minutes, like you say, and they play their system really well. What is it about the matchup with Wingham? I mean, if you look at during the season, the Bulldogs could compete with any single team. Didn't end up beating Mount Forest. The best they had with Mount Forest was an overtime loss. So they took 1 point against Mount Forest. But every single other team, Hanover, Mitchell as well, end up having some really good scores against where, 4-0 shutouts, and one against Hanover as well. But Wingham has always been kind of a thorn in the Bulldogs' side. Why do you think that is?
Well, part of it, I think, is the way that they play. And I think that they've got some guys that, like I said earlier, they know their role, and they do a really good job playing that role. And they play it consistently. It doesn't matter if it's a playoff game or a regular season game. And they got under the skin of some of our guys, quite frankly, and that hurt. I thought that our discipline throughout the regular season was a problem. And we had numerous talks about that, about how to, if you want to be a good team in this league, I think discipline goes a long way. And in a lot of the games that, if I'm going through some of the games, in particular, there was 2 games in Wingham. I believe they might have been both shutouts. I'm not positive, but both of them were huge. They were both games where we were very undisciplined. And, if you want to, you're not going to win in this league if you continuously go to the box. It's just, you're depleting your lineup, and, you're relying heavily on certain guys to kill penalties. They get fatigued, and next thing you know, pucks are going in the net. I think the first game we lost to them 1-0. That was a toss-up. That game could win either way. There were a couple games that we did play maybe better or, or more to my liking, where we had better success against them. But yeah, it was one of those things, kind of like in the opening where I said, like, we just never ever really found our flow. I really thought, the top 5 teams really, and I don't want to give any disrespect to Goddard or to Walkerton, because I know that both of those teams, obviously, they could beat teams too, really, on any given night. But I kind of thought that the top 5, were kind of competing, for those spots throughout the year. We had a terrible October, and a start to November that really kind of, we basically figured we had to play 7 to 750 hockey just to kind of get into that mix of third, fourth, from there. And, that was a tall task. We did it for December and part of January, and then we ran into a lot of injuries. I think we sat 9 guys one night. That kind of took its toll towards the end of January and February. So we never really got to where we wanted to be. And when you don't, some people say, oh, it's the regular season. The regular season means a lot, right? Like, you get seeded higher, and, you get Mount Forest, who ends up, finishing first, and, with Torrey injured and Shimnowski injured, like, it gives them, time to heal and rest and get ready for their series. It does make a difference.
Yeah, I think last year as well, during that COVID season, there was a difference between 1 point between Wingham and Kincardine last year. The Bulldogs came on the good side of that, and that 1 point gives you a home ice advantage. So even that is an advantage, like just alone on your gate and what you're taking in on your fundraising as well. It makes a huge difference on the business side of the sport as well, because obviously, funding goes a long way for next year, what you can actually finance to put for more signings as well. I wanted to ask you, as far as, year 3 for you as a head coach, and working with Russ Sutton and with Blair Pollock as well. What were your takeaways as well from, like, what did you learn this year as far as year 1 and 2, and then being able to get to know the guys in the community as well with the Bulldogs as well, and the initiatives off the ice, but just, experience of year 3.
I think one thing that Kincardine's always done really well, and the players have always stepped up, is their community involvement. So for me, that, it necessarily, I don't think it's changed. It may have even gotten better. When you have players from the town, it makes a difference as well. Where, they obviously lead by example, and they step up and help with the sponsorships, or, whatever it is, just, in town, or just the skates after signing jerseys and things for the kids. That's always been fantastic. For me, from my first year to now, I think the biggest thing that I've appreciated is the guys making the sacrifice to come. My first year, it was a little bit more lackadaisical, I guess, in a way. Guys weren't used to maybe attending all practices, and that was a huge issue for me. I don't think it sets or sends the right message if you're not coming to practices and then expecting to be played the same amount as other players. I think if you make a commitment, to a team, yes, there's going to be circumstances where you can't attend for whatever reason, and we're understanding of that. But we do want you to at least attempt to make those efforts. And I thought, this year, whether it's Jordan Beisel, who's coming down from London, Gavin Downs and Gavin Gibbons coming from Barrie, those are huge sacrifices, that they're doing, and it speaks volumes. Like, other guys see that they're traveling these distances to come, and that they're doing it for the better of the team. Those are types of guys, that they built a culture of, I think personally, I think they build a good culture, and hopefully that leads to a culture of winning as well. So, I'm probably forgetting guys because I don't know exactly where everyone goes to school, but I know that those guys, I think those three would have been the three that probably put the most miles on last season. So
I think like you bring up a good point about Beisel coming from London as well. We ended up losing goaltender Josh Jacklin this year as well because he was going to Waterloo. It's a really difficult situation to be a general manager in Kincardine because we're an outpost here, and there's a 2-hour drive from London, Kitchener, Waterloo, or Guelph, whereas the teams a little bit more east and south of us have a better draw for distance for those kids to go to those schools and still make it a manageable winter drive for your practices once a week or for your games on the weekend as well. Kincardine's a little bit of an anomaly that way. I do like what you said about the community as well, because obviously I think we do have to do things a little differently in Kincardine. I always say it's a money ball thing. And that way, our fundraising, I think the Bulldogs do a great job of doing the events, whether it be the beach volleyball event or the dance, the beach dance in July as well. Obviously, we're going to lose the 4 OAs this year, which is expected. Obviously, they're OAs. Next year, you still have your core group of guys from Kincardine, and obviously some holes that are out of your control to fill. That's up to management and the GM. But where do you look next year to build on in the pieces that you have already built and invested in those players right now for next year?
Yeah, well, I think you want to see the guys that made a step this year from their rookie year. You want to see them make another step. So whether it's Carter Survey or Gavin Downs, Gibby, just thinking of that group of Shippey and Buys and Calhoun, like all those guys, you want to see them take the next step from what they did this year, and that quite honestly, that's their challenge now is okay, build upon what you did last year, and hopefully that they're challenging themselves to be better next year. We're going to expect more from really all of our veterans. It doesn't matter if you play a limited role or if you play, if you're one of our top guys. There's a certain thing that, there's a certain way that we want you to play. There's a certain way we want you to conduct yourself. And I think they all know that. And, we're looking forward to them taking the right steps. It's going to be difficult, obviously, as it is every year. Whether it's, what schooling, you move away for school, or, you get into a different program, where your hours are different as far as school. There's lots of different factors that these kids and they have to juggle, right? And I think, for us, we're understanding of all those things, but in order for us to build and hopefully create a winner here in Kincardine, we need our veterans to be our leaders. Whether you've got a letter on or not, it doesn't matter. They all need to lead by example, and I think we've got the right guys to do that. So
yeah, and I'll just kind of jump on top of that as well, just to kind of give you some due where you got some coming. The fact that you're a school teacher, I think, is an amazing fit for the organization as a coach. That you're able to be an effective communicator, really have that trust relationship with the players that you have. They respect you as well. They like you, which helps. More importantly, I think, you coming from Guelph in the OHL and having gone through that junior experience really leans to how guys can look up to you, how they can listen to you. It commands a lot more respect in the room, I think, because you've walked the walk inside of that experience. But before we go, I just thought I'd ask you about, how you're able to lean on your junior experience as a coach and to help facilitate for these kids as well, going through, taking it to the next level of what you think you needed as well as a player to get to that next level.
Yeah, I think for myself, I think they, and for anyone really that's played the game or is coaching now that has played the game, is we were once there. We were, once that age, and we all remember what we wanted to do, or like there's life outside of hockey too. It's important to maintain friendship groups and spend time with family or girlfriends, whatever. So to be there to kind of experience and to go through it myself, I would like to think that I've got a good read on the room, as the guys need some time off, or just kind of make it an optional practice, or just do something fun, or just tell the guys, get away from the rink for a week, whatever it is. It's a reset type thing. I would like to think that's helped. For myself, like I look back at some of the coaches that I had, and like the best thing that I try to take some of the things away from all those coaches. I've had coaches that were very blunt and honest with me, that that worked me really, really hard. That I try to instill that on certain guys. There's guys that I've had coaches that are really good on the X's and O's. I've had great coaches that are just really good at communicating and just taking you almost away from hockey and just talking life. So you try to bring all those things in and hope, because not everyone's the same. Even though you're all competing for the same thing, all these kids are different, and what works for one isn't going to work for the other, which can be trying, especially at the junior C level when we don't practice all the time. We're lucky to get if everyone gets into the rink there on Tuesday for our one practice, and we see them on the weekend and try to go over some things. It's not like when I played or when I coached with Jason and Jesse and Listowel, we were practicing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you got a lot of time. You got a lot of time to talk to the kids about different things or go over different things. Like the time here is a little bit more limited, and we try to jam as much, but not too much, if that makes sense. In that small little window.
Yeah, I think you really made a really good balance as well for junior C hockey. And again, like I keep saying this over and over again throughout the season, it's junior C hockey. You're not going to the Stanley Cup. It's really about the experience for the kids, but developing them, mentoring them, giving them that experience that you had growing up as a player, just so that way they feel supported. They're good in the community. They show exactly what success is going to be like off the ice as well. So life after hockey finds them. They're still going to be, good in the community. They're going to be, good in school. They'll be good in relationships. They'll be good at work. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think as an observer this year, on the executive having an eye on the room, I think you guys did that swimmingly. Like you did that in spades, where the guys in that room had really great energy. Everybody there got along. There wasn't one moment this year that the wheels fell off and fights broke out, and like just a good core of guys with a good coaching staff as well that just complemented all that. I think you guys did a remarkable job in having those guys have that junior experience as well. So well done with that.
And I think that's that's one of the things that with the coaching staff, with Blair and Russ, like. I remember when I used to coach with Jason, Jason once told me, he's like, Todd, you're going to have to go in and pick up the pieces, because I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be I'm going to yell at them at times and they're going to hate me. And you're going to have to be the guy that goes in and kind of picks them up. And, I think at times, as much as you don't like to do that as a coach, they need to see that kind of authoritative voice. And I thought that, you got Russ and you got Blair, who are both really great at just kind of, in a way, picking up the pieces. Blair,
good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, exactly. And Russ is very soft spoken and, does a great job listening to the kids. And Blair is a little bit more of the comedian, and can joke around with the guys. I thought that, I think that we work well together.
Yeah.
And I hope the guys appreciate where we're coming from when we have to be firm, and
Yeah.
and obviously at the other times when we can joke around and have a good time with them.
Yeah, I think accountability is just that dance on the beam, right? Like you have to have that hard line in the sand where you're like, hey, listen, if I let you to your own devices, you're going to go off the rails. And I wouldn't be doing you a service if I let you do that, because it's going to hurt you, it's going to hurt the team. And like, we're all about the team here, so this is where we're going to pull you back. And I think guys can respect that. Firm but fair is a really good stance to have. I think you guys did a great job with that. I know that I wanted to have Steve Dom come in here and ask you a couple questions as well before we go. So why don't we bring Steve up here on the show?
Hey,
that way our producer can fire away at you.
Yeah. All right. I just had a couple questions about your playing days. In 1995, you're part of the U18 World Junior Championship gold medal winning team.
Yeah.
And then later that year, you're also drafted by the Vancouver Canucks. What was that year in general like?
It's a long time ago, but that was a fun time, obviously, in my life. I remember going to that tournament, and it was actually in Mexico. And there was only 4 teams back then. Got to play alongside some really phenomenal hockey players. Like Daniel Briere was my centerman that year. That tournament. Played with guys like Mark Savard and Alan McCauley, and it was a great time. I was fortunate enough. I think I was an underage pick to the OHL, and I got to play under 17 and had a good under 17 tournament, which I think kind of led me into the U18. And obviously, to be completely honest, I think I had played with Mark Savard on a line with him in the U17, and they probably saw how him and I had played together, and maybe thought that we'd be a good combination again at the U18. But I later on ended up with Briere, which was pretty good as well. And then getting drafted, it's, I don't even know how you explain it. It's just one of those dreams come true. You kind of you think about it as a kid, and you really don't know what it really entails. There's lots of work. There's lots of tears as well. When things don't go your way, or you're not maybe maybe the career path or whatever isn't turning out the way you want it. But like I remember going to the draft with my brother and my dad. And when you finally hear your name, it's a pretty exciting time. And the one thing that you got to remember though is that the real work is really just starting now. Like to get your name called is one thing, but then to make it to that next level it's pretty damn difficult. But pretty special time back in my career. Obviously, a lot of people to thank, obviously starting with parents and my family, and then obviously all my teammates and coaches along the way that played a part in me getting to that level, I guess. It's actually really funny. Actually, before I went on the call here, my old GM in Guelph, Mike Kelly, is he's going to be, I guess he's getting inducted into the Guelph Sports Hall of Fame. So just got an invite from one of our people down there to keep a date free. So it's really nice to see Mike. I remember Mike was pretty honest with me. I remember him and the head coach came down and talked to my mom and dad and before the OHL draft, and they just told us if you're there, and they were really honest. Back in my day, there was an underage draft, and it was the same time as the regular draft. And if you were an underage, you had to go in the top 3 rounds. And if you didn't, then you kind of leave the draft and hang your head and drive home. But anyway, Mike and the coach came down and they just said, hey, if you're available in the 3rd round, we'll think about you. And they were super honest. They were obviously honest my whole career with them, and pretty proud that they drafted me. And it's nice to see that Mike's getting some recognition, because he was a big part of my career, that's for sure.
Right on. That's an amazing story to hear, honestly. A lot of the guys playing junior C level will never get to that level, and it's cool to hear those stories. I had one more question about uh, your last season, 2006 and 7. You played in Strasbourg in France. What was that experience like playing in a different country, completely across the world from where you grew up? What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I got a call from an old teammate of mine. I had actually played with him at university. His name was Wes Jarvis, and Wes just kind of called me up one day and he said, "Hey, we're looking for a forward. Are you interested in coming to France?" And I was just kind of like, I didn't really think too much of it. And anyway, he continued. He must have kept on talking to their their uh, their GM and their head office. And next thing you know, I got a phone call and was talking to them and went down. And it's different for sure. It was a little bit of a different game for me. As I went there and maybe was a little bit more used to playing the North American style. And obviously there's lots of things that I had to get used to, and the language barrier was the first thing. I don't speak very well French, and um, just getting acclimated, new city, different country, the whole bit. Everything takes a little bit of time, a little bit of adjustment to get to, and just the way things are done there. We're maybe a little bit different than the way I was used to it. I don't know if I adjusted well. I had an okay season, I believe, but yeah, it was good. It was to be honest, it was a little lonely. I was there I went by myself, and there was myself, and I knew Wes, but he was really the only other guy I knew. We had guys on our team from France. We had some guys from Slovakia and Czech Republic, so we had a real mix, and it was all different ages, kids as young as 18, and I think our oldest guy at the time was like maybe 35 or 6. So different that way, but yeah, it's something that I really enjoyed. I'm glad I did it. I think if I was offered it, and turned it down, it'd kind of be one of those things that you're always wondering what if. So I am glad that I did go, and it's just kind of something. Yeah, I don't talk about it too much. But yeah, it was really fun. That's for sure.
And that's very fascinating because you don't always hear about those stories of guys playing overseas, and it's not as broadcasted. So thank you for your time here today. It was very greatly appreciated.
No
Is there
problem.
anything you want to say to Bulldogs fans or anybody here watching before we close this segment off in the
Well,
show?
I was just wondering how come you didn't mention that I was a junior C Brussels Bulls. You didn't dig all the way back to that. I missed that one.
Brussels.
Brussels
Brussels.
Bulls. The Brussels Bulls alumni and fan base will be disappointed, I think, that you didn't get that one out there. But no, like I've really enjoyed my time, obviously, with Kincardine. Kincardine's my home now. I moved up this way about 6-7 years ago. So yeah, it's great to be able to help out. I think I think we've got a lot of the right pieces in place. It's just a matter of kind of building, year after year, and just trying to get over that hump. And I know that Chuck had mentioned it earlier. It takes, for me, I tell the kids every year, it takes someone really special that wants to play in Kincardine, because really, unless you're from here, you're basically driving through another junior C town, and wanting to come and play for us. So I definitely appreciate all the guys that make the time to do that. It's really it means a lot to us and the organization. So really, all the accolades and everything that make obviously there's lots of things that go on to run a junior C program, but without the players and their dedication, it's I think for me that's where it kind of starts with. So thanks to all the guys.
Well said.
Thank you very much for your time. We'll let you get on with the rest of your night.
Right.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Thanks for a great season, Todd.
Thanks. See ya.
And that will do it for our show today. Thank you guys all for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this video to all your friends. Chuck, any final words before we close the show out?
Yeah, I just think that just like again, I want to give credit where credit is due. I think Todd did a great job with the guys, the core guys. Like I said, you can tell a lot by being observer in the executive into the room, the energy there, the amount of respect level that he commanded, the likability factor. Let's be honest, sometimes that doesn't always happen. That you like your coach, but like I said, Todd was a very, very great balance of doing that. We're just really thankful that he's actually. And I mean, here's the other thing that nobody really understands as well is like this is junior C hockey, so this is a lot of volunteer hours at
Yep.
Peace Corps wages. Everybody out there is donating their time, and then being able to give that so that way they can try and make a difference in the lives of the kids. And I think we are very fortunate in Kincardine to have the coaching staff that we've had, with the core amount of players that we had, with the executive that try and does the very best that we could possibly do to put on a team that makes Kincardine proud. So just want to give Todd and the coaching staff another good shout out.
And that was very well said. It was again up and down season, but overall very good season for the Bulldogs. Stay tuned for more Bulldogs content. We will be back to give you updates for team events, anything else going on around the team, and we will be back. So thank you guys all for watching. Again, like, subscribe to this video, and we'll see you next time.